Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca. It's time for a haul, the last haul possibly for a little while because I'm setting out in 2024 to read 24 of my own books before I buy or borrow anymore. So this may be a little pause point in my hauling things. I don't have any pre-orders waiting, and this is everything that I have been collecting or was gifted over the last couple months. So this is going to be a fun one to go through. I guess I should say I want to get through this in order to get things back on the shelves. My shelves have been reorganized in the past week-ish, and I'm done, other than getting these back on the shelves. So that's why I want to go through this. So this probably will not go up until after the new year, though. And at that point, I will have reorganized the shelves again for my 2024 TBR shelf. So I'm just gonna put them on to take them back off possibly. But this will be good. It will allow me to have everything on my shelves finally. So let's dive into the haul, I guess, first with what I got for Christmas. So a bit random, but I got Where's Waldo Deluxe Edition. I have not ever had a Where's Waldo in my adult life, but I think this is a good one to go with my kind of coffee table books that are sort of distractions, good things to look through when you need something to distract you. And then I got a book I actually want for Christmas, and that is The Gifts of the Crow, How Perception, Emotion, and Thought Allow Smart Birds to Behave Like Humans by John Marzaloof and Tony Angel. So I've not heard of this, I don't think, but I do have a fascination with animal and bird intelligence, and so this is definitely a topic I will be looking to read more on. And then stuff that I bought myself. So that's it for the gifts. First chunk of these, let's start with the nonfiction. They are books I bought as potential gifts for other people. So first I got Marx for Cats, Radical Bestiary by Lee Claire LaBerge. So I have slightly mentioned this because I did start reading it. I read the first little bit to tell if it was a good gift, and I confirmed it is a good gift for the person I wanted it for, and I want to read it. So I kept the copy I started and got a new copy for my friend. But this seems to be just a history, sort of a focused history through time of politics and economics and how cats pop up over the course of that. And specifically the economics aspects. Obviously it mentions Marx. So it's full of pictures. I'm assuming that's the author and her cats. But there's lots of historical objects, that sort of thing. So this is exactly the kind of focused history that I love, like very, very socioeconomic. And that one, oddly enough, I found because of a targeted ad, I believe. I had never seen it anywhere. My library didn't have it either. So same deal with this one. This is one I was targeting as a potential gift for someone. I did hear about this on BookTube, but I can't remember from who. It might have been Britta Bowler, but I couldn't find it, if it was her that talked about it. So this is Supper of the Lamb by Robert Farrar Caplan. And he is an Episcopalian minister, as well as an amateur chef, cook. And this seems very quiet and contemplative. I read a little bit and then I just kept reading and I got through the first 3 chapters, and so I decided I needed to keep this one as well, and I also bought it for the person I was gifting it to. So this one is part cookbook, part meditations on cooking and theology, and it was exactly the sort of vibe I was hoping for. So I believe, if I recall, again, I can't remember if it was Britta or not, but I believe that whomever talked about it actually didn't like it, but I picked it up anyway because it sounded like it was the sort of thing that would be perfect, and it was. Then the next 2, actually, I think the next one was definitely a Britta Bowler suggestion. This is Catherine McCormick's Women in the Picture, Women, Art, and the Power of Looking. So this is nonfiction about women in art, how they're perceived in art, and I think women artists and the perception that women have in creating art. So this one I also wanted to give as a gift, but I want to read the whole thing first. So this may be gifted later on this year as a birthday gift. So I grabbed a copy to read through, and hopefully will in the next few months before that birthday. But this sounds very intriguing, and part of the synopsis, it mentions Beyonce as a modern woman artist that this looks at. And so I'm really curious how this is going to tackle that, because I read Antigone Rising 2 years ago, I think. It was on my favorites list in 2022, I think. And 2022. So Antigone Rising was a collection of essays and very much tied art from antiquity and modernity, and one of the essays very much focuses on Beyonce in the Louvre. So I'm really, really looking forward to see how this tackles the same topic potentially, or if there's any interconnection there. But that one, as I said, was, I think, definitely a Britta Bowler recommendation. The next one, Walking the Invisible by Michael Stewart, following in the Bronte's footsteps. Another one I picked up as a potential gift and did not give, but this may go as a birthday gift as well later this year, if I can get to reading the whole thing. Basically, I picked this up after hearing somebody mention it, and I cannot remember who, but I think most likely it was Roz from Scally Dandling about the books, because Roz and Tilly were doing a bunch of walks during Victober, but I could not find a mention of this book in any of them after I was trying to hunt it down. But I think that's the most likely culprit. However, this, I was expecting it to be much more illustrated. It is not. It's pure text, except for at the very back, there is a section with maps and stuff. And I like that, but it's not kind of the gifty book I was expecting it to be, with lots of photos of these walks and like what they actually look like today. Not that. So this could be very good for the person I was looking for, but I need to read the whole thing first. So I am interested in the topic, so I will at least enjoy it, I'm sure. Then the last, I think, of the nonfiction is Dreams Must Explain Themselves, the selected nonfiction of Ursula K. Le Guin. And I'm so excited to have this. I did not know this existed until I saw it, hauled by Gareth from Love Songs and Other Magic. And look at that cover, that is absolutely stunning. And this apparently was only released in the UK, I think. This is a Glance publication. And this was published in 2018. So it also, much like my box set here of the Hainish novels, has a release date in 2018 and an introduction that was written by Le Guin herself before she passed. So both of these are like the last couple things that were put out of her work. And so I'm thrilled to have that, but this is also a really stunning collection from what I've leafed through the index. This has so much different types of nonfiction. We've got straight up essays, the standard stuff that I do have collected in some other places, but then we have speeches, we have introductions to her works, we have blog posts, we have critique on some people's writing. So really wide variety and many things that I have not seen collected elsewhere. So very excited to have this because I think Le Guin's nonfiction is so insightful, and often I like it even more than her fiction. So I'm very, very happy I heard about that. Then I think we have my Broken Binding haul. They were having a big clearance sale sometime around the US Black Friday. They're a UK company, so I don't know why it was around there, but they were having a big clear out. And so I got some really cheap, really nice quality books from them. So the first two go together. I have The True Bastards and The Free Bastards by Jonathan French. I purchased the self-published copy, The Grey Bastards, the first book in this trilogy, and I enjoyed it very much. I read it last year, finally, after having the self-published copy for multiple years. And then I went on to read The True Bastards. But I didn't have these on my shelves because after the self-publishing of the first one, Orbit picked it up, traditionally publishing the series for the whole trilogy. And so I don't like these ones as much as the self-published cover. So I finally, grudgingly, because they were inexpensive, got them. And I'm happy to have them because I read this one from the library and I kind of wished I had been able to annotate it. This is a very deeply grimdark series about orcs living in a very hard world. And they are sort of an orc biker gang who ride literal hogs. So it is kind of like Sons of Anarchy kind of vibe. Very violent, gritty, hierarchical world. And in this world, they're kind of facing a lot of change. So where things are already very hard and the orcs are at the bottom of the social rung, they're now facing even more to do with changing society, politics, and magic. So I did enjoy the first two. The first one, I think, much more than the second, but I'm really looking to see how this trilogy winds up in The Free Bastards. So looking forward to those, certainly. And then another sequel, I've got The Thousand Eyes by A.K. Larkwood. I read The Unspoken Name in 2023 as well, and quite enjoyed it. It was fantastic. And that it's another orc series, so a little random that these were orc series, but I got to that one. It's about an orc priestess who kind of runs away when she's supposed to die for her cause, and sets off on a whole adventure, and a very difficult adventure at that. So It's very weird and mythic kind of vibe. It's high fantasy, but quite dark, without being totally in the dark fantasy realm. It's really hard to put words to what this series was. But this is a duology, so this second book will complete it if I can get to reading it soon. But I enjoyed it so much, and the characterization was so strong that I am really looking forward to getting to it. And this one, I actually hadn't bought a physical hardback to go with my other one because I thought this cover was not very nice, seeing it, like pictures of it, but seeing it in person, I really like this. It's very shiny and nice. So I don't know what I was thinking. I just hadn't seen it in person before. And I don't think any of these are actual special editions from Broken Binding. I think these are all the regular editions. And then the final one is one I just read, and that's Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. So you can't really see, and I didn't know until I got it, that all the little lines on the birds are actually gold foiled. So this is way prettier in person. And there's not anything special about the hardcover, but it is purple, very bright purple. And my Broken Binding, yeah. And the end papers. So pretty, so pretty. So I'm very thrilled that I got this because basically with this book, this was the third of Harrow's novels that I have read and 5-starred. So I'm going to buy the other two eventually, not right away, but I will be on the lookout to get nice copies of those ones too, because Harrow is definitely a new favorite author. Oh, I should say, I will have a full review of this coming up. It's out there filmed, but not edited yet, so that needs to happen. But this is a haunted house, contemporary, set in Appalachia. Very, very vibey and spooky. Next, let's go to my Stelliform Press books. So this year in 2023, you're probably not seeing this till after the new year, but it is the end of 2023 right now. So in 2023, I had a goal of buying more books, but specifically focusing on buying things I had read and loved and wanted nice copies of, which I just showed, and also indie published stuff. So I got a bunch of indie published stuff, and I had kind of subscribed to one indie publisher and then was debating on what to do after my subscription ended for that, and I decided to buy a chunk of books from another indie publisher because Aboreality by Rebecca Campbell won the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize in 2023, and I knew I needed to have a copy of it for that, and I want to read the entire Le Guin Prize. That is now one of my goals. So this is the kind of special edition. It's got gold foiling around there, and then it's got the two little badges from prize wins. So that is the Le Guin Prize winner and Philip K. Dick Award finalist on there. So Stelliform Press is a small press in Canada who focus on cli-fi or climate fiction. And so all of these are kind of a weird sci-fi in near futures that are kind of climate wonky. I had previously read After the Dragons from Stelliform as well for the 2022 Le Guin Prize, and I very much enjoyed it. So I kind of knew a little bit of what I was in for, but this gives me a whole new variety. I got several things. So I got this because it was the special edition. And this is a small novella, I think, that was adapted from a short story. And it's hard to distill down what it sounds like this is. It sounds maybe more like vignettes or a mosaic novel about kind of how people survive in a coastal community facing climate change. So I'm really curious to see what this is. And they sent me as well a little postcard that says Aboreality on it. So yeah, they sent me a lot of little goodies. Then I got Octavia Cade, You Are My Sunshine, and Other Stories. And they sent me this little bookplate as well in there. And this one is a pretty good sized short story collection. Cade is an author who had been very much on my radar for a couple of years now since Worldcon was in New Zealand. And for whatever reason, though Cade is a New Zealand author, most of their stuff is out of Stelliform Press in Canada. So I was super excited to see a name I knew on the list and several things to choose from, and this just happened to be the one that kind of grabbed me the most. So I think this is going to be weird, really strange, and surreal short stories, I believe. And Cade, I think, so when Worldcon was in, I just can't finish a thought today. When New Zealand Worldcon happened, Cade became an author that I heard about through sort of my reading circle, because as a result of Worldcon being there, the local Sir Julius Vogel, I think, award was held with it at the same time. And so people involved with Worldcon also were reading the stuff for the New Zealand local award. And Cade was up for that. And so I heard great things at that time, and then just never got around to reading from Cade's work. So I'm very happy to do that now. Next, is Weird Fishes by Ray Meritz, and I put some bookmarks in here again. So this was after the Dragons, the one I read before cover, and then just some random Still at Warm Press ones. But this one is, as it looks like, another novella about a scientist who is sort of a fish person. And I think I'm kind of getting vibes a little bit like The Deep from River Solomon, where on the back, one of the sort of blurb lines is an underwater tale of friendship against monstrous odds. So it sounds like our main character here, this underwater scientist, is seeing some changes that are unexpected, and clearly that's got to do with the climate change element, and is going toward the surface. And so I'm wondering if, like The Deep by River Solomon, we're going to see sort of a cross-species friendship, maybe, or relationship. But just very intrigued. I love aquatic stories in really unusual settings, so I'm a jam. And then the last one from there is The House of Drought by Dennis Mombauer. I've never heard of this, never seen the author before, I don't think, but very intriguing because this is a climate change, gothic, spooky house story in Sri Lanka, and that sounds amazing. It says a haunted house for the climate change era. So this is tiny. I'm wondering if it can accomplish that sense of atmosphere and spookiness in that length, but I am hopeful. One of my favorite sort of creepy gothic-y stories is very short. So yeah, I'm hopeful for that one, but I'm going in completely blind other than that. Then the last couple here are just indulgences, I guess. So The Riverbank by Keach Johnson is a continuation of The Wind in the Willows, and I have read it before, and I bought it for myself and read it and gave it away, and so I wanted another copy for myself. This is very beautifully illustrated. It has a handful of illustrations. But if you've read Wind in the Willows, you know fully what you're expecting out of this. It's the same kind of little vignettes of country pastoral life. However, Keach Johnson sort of brings it up to date by adding some women characters, which is lovely. And of course, I just love The Wind in the Willows. So I really have been wanting to do a full reread of that and this, and so I'm glad to have my own copy again. And then Terry Pratchett's A Stroke of the Pen and Other Stories, The Lost Story, with a foreword by Neil Gaiman. And I was a little on the fence about this because Terry was very specific about not digging up his work unfinished to publish it after his death. Neil being on board certainly helps along my being on board with it as well. But this apparently is a collection of stories that he had published in his youth. So they are completed published works. This is not delving into his unfinished work. But none of these were attributed to him under his own name at the time. They were all published for like periodicals. And so I'm really curious to see what is in here. It does appear to do with, like you can see there's a lot of holiday-y stuff there. It seems some of these are holiday stories, so I kind of am missing the holiday season for this year, but I think probably next year I will get at it. But yeah, this was I think my last pre-order that I had kind of waiting and came in. But I'm excited to have it and to put it with my Pratchett collection. And then the very last one here is a big chunky one. This is The Best of World SF, Volume 3. So I have read Volume 1 and 2 already, and I'm hoping in 2024 to complete Volume 3 as well. I have really enjoyed these collections. Levi Tidar is the editor who's pulling these together and has made the greatest project out of this by not repeating authors. So every time he's searching out truly what he can find of new up-and-coming sci-fi, searching out different corners of the world to incorporate. So we're getting a smattering of SF from everywhere, both translated and English language. It is just a great discovery and education into what is happening in the world of sci-fi. So this has been like the most unique collection of short fiction that I have read, really, in terms of Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1, I would say, was truly a best of. Like, it was pulling, as being a new project, it was pulling all of the award-winning fiction from around the world. And after that, once we're delving into more variety, I think we had more duds along the way, because I was buddy reading it in the second volume, certainly. But seeing all the different styles and different approaches to sci-fi, and there is some fantasy in there too, as well, but seeing the different approaches and global voices has just really excited me and given me a lot of exposure to new names who are up and coming, who have works coming out actively, and that has been like the greatest discovery through reading these. So that is it for my final haul for a while, and now I'm excited. I get to go put these all back on my shelves, or put them on my shelves, and try to find room for everything and before I take it all off again and reorganize into my 2024 TBR shelf. So that is it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching.